Tune in to UFO Undercover, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
I had enough.
Well, you drove out there into the middle of nowhere and had some sort of loud verbal display challenging ET in general out in the middle of nowhere?
That's what I was doing. I actually had a pistol in my hand at the time. I was really ticked off. When I was having this fit, I was waving the gun in the air, okay, and I had this fit. And at this moment, I said, okay.
He was a Louisiana man named Montaldo. Folks around called him Six Gun Joe. Worked with ICAR, don't you know? Investigating UFOs. Out for a drive with a gal one night, they stopped to check out the reporting site. When an alien lit right there on the ground, he commenced to throwing his weight around. Now, old Six Gun didn't take too kindly to that kind of thing, especially without Vaseline or anything like that, Seriously. Well, Six Gun looked that critter right in the eye and said, "Any last wish before you die?" Yo, reached for his gun, quick as a twitch, and said, "Fill your claw, you son of a bitch." Now, a legend spread across the land about this pistol-waving man. But if you're from space or from Earth below, you don't give no lip to Six Gun Joe.
I never thought I would find a correlation with blood and abductees. 69% of all of our abductees are Rh negative. Rh negative people's personalities are different than Rh positive personalities. It's not necessarily that one's better or worse than the other, they're just different. Their psychic abilities tend to stand out more. They tend to be more go-getters. They tend to want to be more involved with things on the planet. No one knows where Rh negative came from. It appeared 35 or 45,000 years ago out of the blue, and for no reason. As far as I know, Mother Nature didn't need it. It's not us doing this. It's something else. When I talk to scientists about this, or somebody in the hematological world, I ask them, I said, okay, O negative is only 7% of the world's population. I said, what is it? They can't answer me. He said, all we can tell you is it's the purest form of blood known to man and is the universal known. They don't like hearing the UFO or the alien word, but even they can't deny it could be a possibility. I don't know if they're ignoring it or just not saying anything to us about it. And the other weird thing about this is 40,000 years ago, it was 1% Rh negative. Today, I think it's up to about 18%. It's growing. We lived in a brown-haired, brown-eyed, brown-skinned planet for 2 million years. And then all of a sudden, this emerges on the scene. We start having these mutations. There was a lot of societies in there that seemed to worship aliens, and now we find out that there's a huge segment of the population that was up. And no one can explain it. After 2 million years of evolution with Rh positive and brown eyes and brown hair, we changed. We've come to the conclusion that somebody's definitely interfering in our society. They do seem to interfere with our population. The 3 major races that visit here are the 3 blood types we carry today. The Greys are the ones that instituted the Rh negative, probably brought O and O negative to us. The human aliens, from every description I've got from anybody who's been abducted, look somewhat like us, but their heads are deeper than ours are. They're taller than us, they're heavier than us, they have 6 fingers, 6 toes. They look a lot like us, but they don't even breathe the atmosphere because originally in the original Sumerian stories, they said they built 2 great white dome cities because they couldn't live in our atmosphere of our planet. That race created a subspecies of themselves, which created the subspecies of us. The Sumerian stories talk about the 7 creations of man, with the subspecies of us being the last creation. They would procreate, it became the aggressive race that's here today, us. Technically, we have all three of the alien races' blood in us, so eventually one day in 100 million years, we're going to surpass them. Do you want the species that's here today in deep space more advanced than the three most advanced races in the galaxy? No, that's not what they want. They want us to be an equal race, but not a race that's going to go out and conquer and destroy. The Greys and the reptilians and humans said, uh-oh, we may have made a mistake here. And ever since then, they've been trying to correct it. For the most part, we really do think that it is to move us forward as a society. Everybody I know with RH positive thinks, well, are we being left behind? I said, no, you're being bred out. There's a difference. And what I mean by that is you're not being left behind. Eventually, we're just going to breed ourselves out in a different type of species, more telepathic, probably more honest. Green and blue eyes and RH negative is a mutation. It's not a naturally occurring thing in our body. Other than alien contact, no one can give me an explanation for where this came from, or why it's here, or why it's pushing so hard through our DNA in our life. It seems to be moving faster than it should be.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Welcome everyone to UFO Undercover. I hope you're having a great morning, great evening, great afternoon, wherever you are on this big, beautiful blue planet. I mean, really, whatever you want to call the place, I don't really care. It's big, it's beautiful. I mean, don't stop in screwing it up, people. I can't talk about that on this show. You'll have to come to one of the other shows, but uh, no, really, no, because I get very passionate about that. And the show is basically PG-13. Really, it's pretty close to PG. It's not even really PG-13. So, and the fact that we don't do any curse. I'm not saying the substance of the material couldn't actually be considered R-rated in some aspects, but because some of the material we deal with can be kind of scary, kind of weird, kind of lonely.
Some adult themes in that, yeah.
Yes, yeah, there's definitely adult themes in it. So, no, Johnny, not that kind of adult themes, you idiot. I swear. Anyway, I hear good news that the movie Capel Green is going to be out. I haven't really had a chance to check into it, but I'm on their list because I did the voice stress analysis on Roger Moore. No, sorry, I couldn't resist. Oh man, on Larry. I'm sorry, people. My brain's like that, you know. Larry Warren is the guy I did the voice stress analysis on. So in the old days, I actually asked Jim Peniston and James, whatever, Peniston and Burroughs if they would come on and be voice stressed. I said, we don't have to do it on air. We can do it in private. I said, if you don't like the results, I'll give them to you. You don't have to make them public. So I would think you'd come on for that. Oh, no. No, oh, no, Joe, you'll give them to public. I said, dude, look at my reputation. I said, I have never done that with anybody. It's not who I am. I said, now, if this was MUFON, it might be different. I said, but it's not. And I said, I'm not going to give out your materials. I mean, for that matter, I've seen you use other people's materials and put them out there, so I wouldn't really be saying that. It's like the cat, the kettle calling the pat. God damn, I can't talk today.
Pot calling the kettle black.
Yes, thank you. Since I'm not going to be, it's going to be one of these nights I can't talk.
Well, and the thing is that both men, and I haven't met either one of them, but on all of their interviews that I've ever seen, Burroughs wasn't the one who got the mental images, but Peniston was, and he seems to he's not that good of an actor. He seems to genuinely have believed that he got a download of ones and zeros in his mind, because when he talks about it, certain interviews, he breaks up a little, like when you're trying to talk about a deceased loved one and you start to your voice breaks up. He does that, which to me indicates he's not lying about that aspect. But since they weren't shore patrol, what are they called? They're MPs. They're both MPs, military police, they're specially trained to be observant. I know, I did my first 2 years of college.
Hey, Mitch. Well, this is a nuclear base, by the way. Let's not leave that out.
So these two men are highly specialized policemen, designed to. They were trained specifically to patrol a nuclear facility and keep the nuclear devices safe. So they're trained on observations and they're trained to not lie. I don't think either one of them is lying, but I think there's something bullshit about their story because otherwise they would have taken your test in a heartbeat, lickety split.
Well, you got to remember they said that they've been time traveling.
Yeah, their story changes every year. Every time there's a new uptick in the Bentwaters case, there's a new detail that these guys add.
Yeah, so they've been time traveling back and forth to different times and places. So far, their predictions have been crap. But look, you make the claim that you're a time traveler, you're going to have to back it up. Okay, let's just be honest about this. So you're out there saying that, and James Holt, or when I contacted Mr. Holt, I said, look, this is what I do. These are my credentials. I was trained by state police. I said, there's no hocus pocus going on here. Let me do the voice stress on you. I said, I mean, come on, you're a colonel in the U.S. Air Force. You should be more than willing to have a voice stress done on you. I said, I said, we have rules where we bring someone, you bring someone. I said, you can check me out. I'm well known. I've done a lot of these. I'm really good at it. I said, I said, I can do it the old school way. He says, well, what do you mean by that? I said, I can go pull all the media you've done and take a comparison where I know you're telling the truth about certain things and then base that against whatever else you're talking about. I said, but I would rather not do it that way. I said, I would rather do it this way. And this way, there's no chance for errors and mistakes. He said, well, you said Larry Warren wasn't lying. I said, actually, what I said is Peter Robbins and Larry Warren weren't lying when they made the tapes for Left at Eastgate. I said, please don't put words in my mouth. He's like, oh, did you? I said, that's exactly what I said. I said, Peter sent me about 25 little mini 8s of him and Larry walking through the woods. And I did the voice stress analysis on it. So when I got through with it, you don't even need voice stress to hear. I mean, there's times their voices are elevated, times they were scared, times they were excited, times they were just, whoa, whoa, whoa. So you don't really so much need the voice stress, even though I did it because I wanted to know for sure. Larry was not lying. Peter wasn't lying. Both of them were excited. Everything Peter said back then was true. So what's that, Carrot? Well, no one's ever called Peter a liar. I mean, not Peter, I'm sorry. No one's ever called Larry a liar about what he said happened at Eastgate. They've always said what this thing where he sells memorabilia for rock stars and stuff like that. So he does that a lot. He's got a lot of pictures with different stars like the Stones and the Beatles and things like that. So a lot of people said he was lying, but it wasn't actually a lot of people. It was Sasha Christie who said it. So, Sasha Christie used to be one of my directors back in the day. And I remember a couple of my directors ran analysis on it and thought she was lying about her experiences. But, when you're talking about abductees, you have to give them some time to get out of their shell and to move forward. So the more they talked about it, the more they said she was probably lying. And when I went over the review, there probably was some, we'll just say, fairy tales there. Was she lying about the whole thing? I don't know. I've never sat down and did a complete analysis on it. I let somebody else do it. So, and they said she was lying. Now, of course, she called me a liar and every other thing because I did the voice stress on Larry, and Larry was innocent on this. So it was really weird. He was staying with her, and they freaked out. If I wouldn't have known better, I would have thought they were sleeping together. I'm still not sure they weren't. I've never seen a woman act like this that wasn't jilted, ever. I just, I've been around a long time. I know a lot of women. I know a lot of men. I've just never seen this somebody act like this unless they had been jilted by a lover or something. So I never was 100% sure if that was. So I figured it was one of two things. Either she was a jilted lover or she was a jilted partner. Meaning whatever they were making money-wise off of these memorabilias, he didn't give her any money. But as far as what he said happened left at Eastgate, no one challenged that. She did, he did, no one did. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, he was tested by the #1 polygrapher in the UK. And then I did the voice stress analysis. So he's pretty clean. And also remember, nobody else at Winter Rendlesham would go through this. No one. There were 3 other good witnesses, It would not. Jim Penniston, James Burrow, Charles Halt, none of them would go through this. None of them. So that makes you suspicious right off the bat. Maybe something's not quite right here.
I
Why
would be
wouldn't you go
suspicious of
through it?
Charles Hawk either way. He seems to be also a very genuine man, and we've talked about his rank, Colonel,
Yes.
one step from General, one step from General. Actually, I think he rotated out as a Lieutenant Colonel. I'm not really sure, but
I don't know. He had a good rank. You don't get to be
at the
that
time
kind of
of the
rank.
event, he was a Lieutenant Colonel, he's a very smooth, soft-spoken man. I would not be surprised if he would be able to defeat your test one way or the other.
Nah, that's not.
I wouldn't be surprised. I think he might
Polygraphing's a little easier. So I could tell you people how to pass a polygraph. There's ways to do it through concentration. There's also ways to do it through drugs. Voice stress is different. So you could be on all the drugs you want, and all relaxed and all. And when I say your mother's a blank and blank and blank a hoe, there's going to be a reaction in your voice. Whether you're holding it or not, even if it's this big, there's still going to be a reaction. I'm going to catch it every time. It's what I do. And it's a little more than that. It's, you got to kind of combine body language and facial recognition and all together, to really understand this. So when I go in and do someone, it's not just the voice stress. I'm doing facial recognition. I'm doing body language. I'm actually doing several different things. So I was well trained for this. And ladies and gentlemen, I wasn't trained for this for UFOs. I was trained for this to catch thieves, and I was damn good at it. I had a 99% success rate. Actually, according to the company I worked for, I had a 99.9% success rate. I was really good at catching thieves. And even some of the best lies, I actually ran across this one guy. He was a serious liar. He had lied his way through a lot of places. And when I did a background check on him, I had found some interesting stuff on him. I mean, he was really good at lying. And I was talking to him one afternoon. I said, well, look, I'm not going to try to fool you. I said, because you're a really good liar. I said, I've checked you out. I said, you're really good. So then the son of a bitch got all cocky and screwed his files and failed the test in a miserable kind of way. But there's ways to put people off guard. When people hear voice stress, they think, oh, you hooked up to some wires, boom, boom, boom. It's not exactly like that. I mean, there are versions of the test that you can use that. But the way I was taught was a little bit different. I'm just simply recording your voice. There's about 30 little meters over here going, and they're very, 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 very sensitive. So if there's even a little hiccup in your voice, the little meter's going to go. It's hard to get around this. And it's not unbeatable, but someone like Charles Hawk couldn't be it, unless he had been trained to be it. There's just not really
being a colonel, a lieutenant colonel at the time of the incident. I think he would probably have had some sort of training against that kind of thing.
Maybe he might have had, but he would have probably had against
anyone of that incident. I think he'd be the only one who would defeat both polygraph and voice stress.
Well, first off, most colonels don't get that. They don't get that kind of training. You have to be Secret Service. So if you're going to get any kind of training like what we're talking about, you can't just because you're a colonel don't mean shit. That you're not going to get it. But if you're a colonel in charge of certain things, especially dealing with the spies, then you're not going to get it for nuclear weapons. It's not like that. But you will if you were in charge of any kind of spy group, any kind of oversight group, stuff like that. They give you training for that. See, what he would have got, was the first thing I ever got, was prisoner of war training, which in some ways is like that. And they do give you some minimal training for polygraphs, voice stress, and a few other things. But unfortunately, when pain hits your body, your face gives you away. So you don't really need the voice. The facial recognition is usually enough. Because you know you're in pain, and your body's knowing, like, if I just say this, I'm free. You can see it coming across someone's face. And so he would have had basic training like that. And don't get me wrong, that's serious training, and there's serious pain involved in it, ladies and gentlemen. People always think, oh, they slap. No. I ended it with 3 broken ribs when I went through prisoner of war camps the second time. So they don't. You actually can get seriously hurt. I know people with broken jaws, eyes coming out their socket. It's It's not playtime stuff because they really want you to be prepared for certain stuff. But there's also levels of training for wherever you're going to be and whatever your security clearances were. Now, he would have had probably a class 5, class 6 security clearance. He was on a nuclear base. I don't know who was in charge. I don't think he was in charge, but I think he was like one of the guys in charge of the people out there. So he'd had decent training. Now, if he'd have become commander of the base or something like that, or been given codes, he would have had a different kind of training. He'd have went through what they call pain-intensive lie training, which is for everything. Because people don't realize, but there's more than voice stress and polygraph to find out lies. And there's more than body language and stuff like that. There's actually other ways. But
one police tactic that I read about, learned about.
There's always good cop, bad cop.
Well, yeah, there is. Yeah, emotions help. But if you're a singular cop by yourself, how do you get a guy to reveal the truth? Well, there's two ways to know. So you have to act. You have to pretend you're dumber than they are. You have to. Then it's hard to do that. Sometimes criminals are pretty stupid. But you keep asking more details about the incident, more and more. And if they're lying, they're going to be very helpful. Oh yeah, okay, and they're going to get more animated and more detail, more fake details are going to come out each time you ask. Well, I still don't get it. How did you get up on it? And they're going to they come up with well, this is how. The more excited and happy they get to help you find that answer, that's a lie. Now, you ask
that's true.
the guy who's telling the truth and keep asking the details. He's going to get more and more pissed. I hate answering the same question. No matter how many times I can reword it more than 2 or 3 times, then I start getting pissed. So, like example, a few weeks ago, Diane asked me to explain something. I'm like, it says this, whatever it was. I forget what the words were exactly, but it says we'll be in contact. She's like, well, explain that. I was like, well, it says they'll be in touch. They'll be in contact. She said again, well, what does that mean? I'm like, I guess it means they'll be in contact. And she still kept asking that question. Eventually, I was like, I got really pissed. I wasn't lying. I was telling the truth. She just, I don't know why, for whatever reason, she didn't understand their message. I did. But you asked your suspect about the same event and about certain details over and over and over and over. And if
they are. Matter of fact, there's on one of the TV shows called The Expanse. You can see this for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. It was a guy who was using the blue shit to kill the kids and the people and everybody else. They couldn't get him to talk, but the crazy guy, I can't think of his name right now, big, goofy, crazy guy. So this is how you do it. And it worked perfectly. There are ways like that. I mean, there's lots of ways. What's that, Jimmy? No, dude. What? No, my job was truly. So quick story. I don't want to get off on too far. So I was on an interview for a job as a manager for a company, actually for a supervisor. And while I was sitting there, I noticed he had a stack of I was going to say PhDs. See, my brain is fried. He had a stack of tapes he was supposed to be watching, VHS tapes. He was supposed to be watching to find thieves. He said he'd been through them. He said, I'd been through that whole stack and I caught nobody. I guess my crew's pretty good. So I popped one in. I was just watching while he was off doing whatever. He was checking me out. And damn, one tape, 6 people I caught. One in tape. Now I'm like, this is like a 16, just 8 hour. And so I'm watching. So he comes back. I'm like on my 3rd tape. He said, man, you watch those tapes pretty fast. I said, didn't you tell me they wasn't no thieves? He's like, yeah. I said, dude, this is not your job. He started laughing. I said, this is not what you need to be doing. He said, well, I don't do it for a living. I'm just a supervisor and I got to check it out. I said, come here, sit down. So I go through the first test. I'm like medium speed. I stop. I said, now I'm going to slow it down, watch. She said, what is she doing? I said, no, watch. I said, she slipped it under the register, not in the register. I said, wait, watch the big one over here with the big money making a deposit. I said, oh, shit. That money, half that money was going to deposit, went on the side of the safe. So I'm going through these. He's like, son of a bitch. And I said, the slower I go, the more I'm going to catch. I said, but you've got a theft problem. So I'm on tape 3 with him, and he's like, I think we caught something like 18 people. So his boss calls me at home. He says, where the hell did you learn how to do that? I said, just some stuff I picked up when I was younger. He said, you want to come work for us catching thieves? I was like, I don't know. I said, that's what's not what's original. I said, I said, I like what your supervisor paid. He said, I'll double it. I said, you're shitting me, right? He said, I'll double what I was going to pay you as a supervisor. I said, okay. He said, asked me about classes. I said, well, I learned voice stress from my stepfather, who was a state trooper. I said, actually, I learned it from two of his friends that did voice stress for the state police. So not only did I learn the voice stress, but I learned the way they work it in and out. So he comes back. He calls me 2 days later with a list of schools for more voice stress, but most of it was facial regulation, body regulation. He had this thing where you could get this thing to help you with facial and body recognition. It was a great program. It was actually a great tool. And I think my first year with them, I caught over 170 people stealing. They were stunned. And I kept telling them in the beginning, because I used to be a manager myself. I said, I'm telling you, your big thieves are your manager, not your help. It's not the people coming in your store. It's not your help. It's your managers, because they have the best opportunity. So after about 4 months, he's like, I went into this one store. I said, look, I said, this guy stole 10 grand from y'all, maybe 12. I said, I'll prove it to you. And the guy calls me up. He said, you're kidding, right? I said, no. So I go into the store as a clerk. I was going to be his clerk, right? So they put me in a clerk. I'm in there. I turned around. I said, I can't take this no more. Dude said, dude, just stand right there. I said, the police will be here in a minute. He's like, what do you mean? I said, I caught you stealing at least 10 grand. I said, probably more like 15. I said, if you confess, you might get half of it off. I said, how much of it can you pay back? How much can I tell the owner you can pay back, or the board of directors? I ain't got any. I said, are you willing to work off any of this debt that you stole? I said, because right now you're looking at 12 to 15 years in jail. And he just panicked. He dropped. I recorded the whole full confession. I was like, I said, okay. I said, well, I'm going to hand this over. And I said, maybe they'll work a deal with you. I said, you've been a good manager for 15 years for these people. God knows how much money this guy stole from these people, Jay. We're talking at least 100 grand or more. And you know what? They gave him some. They let him go. They didn't want to prosecute him, even though we had a full confession. And when he handed it to the sheriff says, "You've got him." It's a full. He said he's going to jail for 10 years. And the guy who was his boss knew him so well, or thought he knew him so well, and he felt so bad that him and the big vice president decided not to put him in jail. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's how I learned how to do all of this. And it came in really handy when I started doing abduction research and contactee research. Because people come in and look you in the face and blah, 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 blah. I'm looking, thinking, you lying, blankety, flanky, SOB, get out of my house. That's what I want, but I'm always nice. Usually what I'll do is I'll do a sit down with somebody like that, and then I will hand it over to the directors to do a sit down just to tell me what they think about the individual. And then it'll go to one of the boards, and then more than likely it'll get dropped. I mean, we don't like telling people they're liars. I mean, we just soon tell them you're really not in the group that we're looking for, the particular contactees that we're looking for. What's that, Stephanie? No, I mean, let me put it this way. We've got 134,000 cases in the iCard file. Jeffrey said we had to go through at least 300,000 to get there, maybe more. Now, somebody said, well, that's impossible. I said, no, not really. I said, I've personally been doing this for 35 years. I said, think how many cases I do a year. I said, and I'm just one individual. I said, at one point we had over 60,000 people working for us. I said, so it was easy to do that. I said, currently, we got about 5,000 people working for us, mainly due to burnout. Yes, Kimberly, it's dealing with contactees and alien research. It burns you out because you can never get full percent. If you ever heard Jay and I or any of us talking, we agree on a lot of stuff, but we disagree on a lot of stuff. And the problem is the stuff we disagree on is a range of stuff that's out there. And when I'm saying, I'm not just saying Jay and I'm talking just about all of us. Yeah. There's just things that we all disagree on. So we have the fundamentals of what we call alien abduction and alien visitation. And basically what the aliens look like in the type of crafts. All right, that is fabulous. They couldn't even told you that 20 years ago. I mean, so that is just outrageously fabulous. But
Yeah, and that's actually something that I had always been interested in. I've been looking at this since I was a kid, literally. I mean, like I've seen every DVD, every UFO documentary you can think of more than once.
if you read the
That
banner on
raises
the
all these
bottom,
interesting questions because there are so many half truths and fake falses out there.
there is a lot of disinformation that the government has put out to try to help. But ladies and gentlemen, if you're reading the scroller on the bottom, and you see it says UFO aliens, are we family? Are we family to these aliens? Well, Jay and I have talked about we probably share blood with them. But you see the one next to it, are we food? I cannot say no. There's no way I can tell you no. And then the one after that was,
stories.
we do the experiment on us? Well, hell yeah, they experiment
Snyder
on us.
stories are really basically dulce base, vats of vivisection. You know, if you don't know what vivisection means, it means to be cut apart alive.
And then you see
vats that the gray aliens use to absorb nutrients through. Kind of gross.
And so, when they first got here, it could have been like that because we could have been their only source of energy. We don't know. And then, of course, it says, are we are we someone's grand experiment? That's quite possible. See, all of that, all three of those together are possible. And then my favorite one was, are they just effing babysitters? Making sure we don't get out in the cosmos and cause trouble.
Well, I don't think that. And I do think at least one of them, perhaps two of them, consider us a viable food source if they needed it, and that would be the mantoids, or the bugs, and the grays. But no, I don't think we're a grand experiment. I feel that something really effing bad happened in this solar system, that one or more of these races that are here caused either by accident or on purpose.
Please stop for a minute because you're going to love this, and I know I'm going to let you finish and go back to where you were. So Jay and I talk about this ripping Mars all the time. So guess what? I was watching last night the destruction of Proxima b. So they expected to find a planet there like us, and instead they found a planet there that looks like it's been destroyed. So at first, scientists were going blah, 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 giving all kinds of excuses. Then all of a sudden, like 5 of them said, I don't know. This looks like it was artificial. So now, 4.2 light years away from us, well, I think the planet's actually closer, but regardless, 4 light years away from us is a planet, Proxima b, like us. And guess what? It's been destroyed. And it does show like there might even be activity still on the planet in some places. Its magnetic field is like, it looks like something ripped its magnetic field away. Now, don't get me wrong, it's next to a red dwarf, which is highly volatile.
But something very similar happened to Mars. Its magnetic atmosphere has been destroyed.
So when you get a chance, you listen to that. You don't have to listen to the whole thing, just certain sections of it. When you listen to it, you're going to be like, shit, because it does fit the discussion we've had about Mars. And wait, it fits the discussion about the asteroid belt and the thing, because they said whatever this was, anything could have passed through, just ripped the planet apart, Planet 5 apart, because they think that it looked like, at first it looked like there was a combination of the red dwarf and these meteors that just came in a big ton, gross of them, right? And then the guy said, well, that looks more like they were fired at the planet. And then the other guy says, I think you might be right. So they went and got a specialist, on demolition, on an expert on ammunition
or
ballistics, and they said actually it was on explosions, I think. But anyway, regardless, and he's like, this looks like somebody blew the living shit out of this planet. So there's two different ones. One of them's talking about the natural damage and probably someone interfered, and the other one's a little bit more in depth. But regardless, doesn't matter which one you watch, they're pretty much saying that this planet 4.2 light years away from us got ripped apart, and because they were expecting to find Earth. That's what they were actually expecting.
And I believe the star is Proxima Centauri b, which means it's at least a binary system, might even be a trinary system. Yeah, that's very
Yeah, they
fascinating.
only ever mix it. They only ever mention Proxima B, the star Proxima B.
I think its actual name is Proxima Centauri B, but I could be
They,
wrong.
well, no, because there's three Proximas, ladies and gentlemen. There's Proxima A, B, and C. What's funny about this is the only people who knew about B and C were the Dogon. They predicted both B and C. They also knew that B had a 55-year orbit around A. And they knew the mass of A, that if you dropped it on our planet, it would go straight through our planet. How in the does a Dogon tribe know this? I mean, really? How does some African tribe know this? I mean, shit, we didn't even know when we had radio telescope. Matter of fact, we didn't even know Prox existed till the radio telescope was invented because you can't see it with the naked eye. Yeah, I know it's a little weird. What Jeffrey? It's a little queer.
Yeah,
I don't know if
Proxima
you can
Centauri
use
is
that
part of
word, Jeffrey. Save that for Friday. Good, Jeff. Jay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just looking at Proxima. The system we're talking about is 4.25 light years away. Proxima Centauri, there is an A, B, and C. It's a trinary, but Proxima Centauri is also a red dwarf that you mentioned, and because of Proxima Centauri's proximity to Earth, its angular diameter can be measured directly. So we can get size of orbits and planets from our perspective. So that's fascinating stuff. But
They said that this
anything,
telescope could even see movement.
it does go back to what I had just been saying, and what we've talked about before on the show is that there was a battle, a war in this galaxy. The light beings allegedly came and put a stop to it. But my speculation is, and has always been for the last several years, that something destroyed this solar system, either on accident or on purpose. And someone came down and saw what was done was wrong and is forcing whoever caused the destruction to rebuild this solar system. And maybe they're trying to rebuild Proxima Centauri B's system as well, which is it appears to be destroyed like ours as punishment. I mean, it's the one possibility that I don't think very many people have a speculation on, and it just seems to me, why would any race, let's say just the mantids alone and the reptiles alone are Star Trek, they're 400 years in advance of us. That's pretty fantastic. Why would they be interested in us? Well, that's pretty close to our, I guess, mental and physical evolution. But you have the Greys that are a billion years old, and then you have the light beings who are billions of years old. Why would they have any interest in making this planet and growing us? Why? They wouldn't. Light beings couldn't care less. The gray aliens probably couldn't care less about us. So whatever's going on here, someone is making it happen and making sure it gets finished.
It's and that was the other part they talked about, that whatever this was probably has now long gone. Well, that's the same with Mars. Whatever it was is now long gone. But
Well,
I got this.
What about our moon?
Well, our moon's empty.
Our moon could be a spaceship with a huge honking space gun in it. It could be a Death Star.
No, but our moon's probably dead. And you know what? You might be right, but it's dead. So whatever was going on, when you look at these on cosmic scales, like what they're talking about with Proxima and what they talk about with Mars, these are 50 million, 80 million, 90 million years ago. So this is long before there was even life on our planet. It might be why there was no more action, because there was nothing here.
90 million years ago, there was life on our planet, but there were no humans.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. There was no intelligent life on the planet, is what I should say.
We don't know
at least that we know of. At least that we know of. But
we don't know that.
Now, maybe that's why they sent one asteroid here, because there was some limited intelligent life here, and they wanted to make sure it didn't evolve. There was definitely intelligent life on Mars. They took it out. Venus probably had it too. They took it out. So this looks more like either a war or just a deliberate strike to get rid of certain types of races out of this area.
Well,
now remember, it is a good chance that this solar system is not from the Milky Way, that it is from Sagittarius, the Sagittarius galaxy. So that might have been what started it. And a lot of the red dwarf stars that are being deposited in the area are from Sagittarius. So maybe these aliens came here and said, "You're not getting in our galaxy. Get the out of here, man. We got enough people living in this galaxy."
Well,
Speculation, people, just speculation. Before
people
anybody
have
says,
always wondered why are aliens even coming here? Well, there's nothing unique about our planet. There are
they come
tons
here because Sexy Joe lives here. That's why they come.
or perhaps they're coming after Doomsday J. I don't know, but
They might be doing that too.
why would super advanced beings be interested in this solar system? Well, if you're in the middle of a 90 million year ago war, and you need a platform from which to launch attacks on your enemies, where we are is the best place. We're between two spiral arms, so we're like right here between these two things, in the middle of nowhere. You could put a big fucking space gun on one of the satellites in the solar system, or all of the satellites on the solar system. Put a big honking space gun on them, and you can shoot devastating attacks into the spiral galaxy arms where all the other stars are clustered together, 2 light years away, 1 light year away, half a light year away, less than the distances we are from our closest star. These people can go there in a heartbeat, and we can't. That's how close they are.
Oh, wait, and then that's another thing. So they think that Pioneer 2 ran into a wall of flame on the right side of our, what they call it, the heliosphere. No, what's the proper? Yeah. So, well, the guy last night kept adding a P in it. I was like, that doesn't sound like it's right, but I just let it go.
It's the heliosphere. It's the furthest out of, I believe,
it's the frontier of our solar system, right?
Heat. The heat.
I know it's the furthest in. I know they say it's always the furthest influence of our sun. It's where it stops.
Yeah.
Or basically stops.
Furthest radiation reach. I forget what it is, but the furthest measurable parts that come from our sun, that's where the heliosphere is. That's where it ends. That's like the eggshell. Outside of that, you're in outer space.
So anyway, this thing, Pioneer's out in space now. And first off, Pioneer had quit working. Both Pioneers have done this, by the way, just quit working in something.
Stopped working, and for years, no word, and then all of a sudden come back repaired.
Yeah, so
and backup systems repaired.
And this is what makes them so eerie about Pioneer 2, because Pioneer 1's on its course. 2 changed its course considerably. Well, since none of the thrusters were firing, that means it met a force.
It ran out of gas before it got to the moon.
So, I mean, I'm kind of like, what the hell? So anyway, we got this stuff. We're starting to find out that it seems like it's much more alive out there. But a bunch of new scientists said, well, I don't understand why we're not seeing life. We're seeing everything. And I'm like, well, how do you know we're not seeing life?
If we sent out 40 years ago, disappears from all radar and communications for 8 years. And this last known telemetry, NASA says the spacecraft is damaged and we're likely never going to hear from it again. End of story. Boom. Pioneer 1 dies. 8 years later, Pioneer 1 comes back online, sending messages back to NASA, Houston Space Center.
And some weird binary code, by the way.
And binary code, and its telemetry suggests that it has been repaired. Not that redundant backup systems took over, but that damaged systems were fixed.
And then Pioneer 2 is the one that changed course. It's weird, people. I mean, there's something, we're running into something out there. Whatever it is, doesn't want to destroy them.
Something's running into us.
Whatever it is, don't want to destroy them because they could have easily destroyed them. So that's. I mean, these things are basically 10 cans, is what they are. No, Jimmy, they're basically 10 cans, man. There's not much to it. Oh yeah, we're about 3 minutes out. So anyway, we're gonna take a quickie. Yeah, we're gonna take a quickie. Shame on you perverts out there. We're gonna take a quickie. We'll be back. No, because we're talking about. It looks like this area that we live in, this area of the solar system that we live in, is very interesting. And think about this. So let me do it like this, a little quickie. This is us. Ooh, this is the primary arm of the solar system, the one that we should be in, but we're right here. We're floating around. We're going like this. Now, this arm right here is full of stars. I mean, full of them. They're overlapping. They're everywhere. The entire arm. Matter of fact, all the
Some of
arms
these
of the
stars
Milky
are
Way.
grouped as twos, threes, and fours.
Yeah, so all the arms of the Milky Way are full. So if there's going to be life, that's where they're going to be. And I'm sure by now they figured out how to interact with the other systems. But still, we're out here by ourselves. And from where we're at, so you can launch anywhere along this chain. But more than that, you can launch anything across the bottom chain. So we're in an excellent position, not for us because we don't have ships that can move that fast, but for someone who has ships that can travel fast the speed of light, we're in an excellent place to wreak havoc on at least 4 or 5 areas of the of the galaxy.
This is a very strategic place to launch attacks or shoot a big honking space laser.
And that may have been why originally all this. See, there may have been life on all of these when they came in from the other galaxy. Whoever was here said, "Oh no, this got to go." And maybe they wiped them all out. Maybe they just became part of the galactic community and abandoned these systems for us for whatever reason. Well, it still looks like we were created. It doesn't look like we naturally evolved. But anyway, we got to go to break, and we're going to be right back. No, you don't get no fancy music on the show. You just get the station. I mean the excuse me. You get the show music. Yeah, this show has its own music because it's a good show and it's supposed to have its own music. But we'll be back in about 5 or 6 minutes. So enjoy yourselves until then. Do what? No, we're not. No. We're talking about all of this. This is going to be like a 3-part show because there's so much stuff to get in, and you better get it now because shows like these will go up on pay-per-view. Yes, because there's an intense amount of information in it. What about Charles? We can talk a little bit more about Charles when we come back. But Charles is, even though he was part of it, he seems to be the least part of it. He should have been the most credible part of it, but he seems to be the least part of it. So I don't know. But anyway, we'll be back in about 6 minutes. So stay tuned. Oh, excuse me. Man, I shouldn't even be tired. Stay tuned and we'll be right. Wait, what's that, Jimmy Lee? Right.
Left back, right back, left back. Quarterback.
We'll be right back.
Are you ready to explore the unknown? Dive into the world of the strange, mysterious, and unexplained with Eerie Expeditions magazine. Each issue is packed with spine-tingling tales, cutting-edge paranormal investigations, and exclusive insights into hauntings, cryptids, UFOs, and more. Whether you're a seasoned investigator or just love a good ghost story, Eerie Expeditions magazine has something for you. Join our growing community of truth seekers and adventure lovers. Subscribe today at EerieExpeditionsMagazine.com.
What's out there? What creates the shadows in the corners or the creatures of the dark? Who are those on the other side? What do they have to say? This is the Gateway Podcast. This is not your normal style of paranormal talk radio. Brought to you live from United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM New Orleans.
Oh, and we're back.
The Power Agency is built for those who move like predators, decide like weapons, and execute like their life depends on it. You're either fully in, or you're...
This is the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and 105.3 in the Gulf Coast. UPRN TalkRadio.com. Esoteric programming at its finest.
Symbol, the trident, gifted to us by the priests of Troy Xenos centuries ago when one of the first monster hunting teams out of Corinth battled a contingent of Vrykolakas that had infested their temple. After the victory over the monsters, the head priest declared, "You are three lances acting as one, not unlike Poseidon's mighty trident of light. That would become our name, the Trident of Light, for the good we did, and still do, against the dark evils of this world."
Available at Amazon Books.
Follow us on Instagram at paranormal.insight. Stay informed on upcoming shows, ask questions, and see what chilling paranormal stories we're following. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube at paranormal_insight. Click the Live tab to see our latest videos.
If you have a paranormal experience that you would like to discuss on the show, please email us at paranormal.insight.podcast@gmail.com.
Every scar tells a tale untold. Every breath makes the night grow cold. The hunter's heart and the prey's last rhyme all collide in the world of true crime. Truth is lurking in the lies they read. Justice waits for those who breathe. Through the dark we'll trace the line. Welcome to the world of true crime.
You're listening to UFO Undercover with your host, Joe Montaldo, right here on the Paranormal Radio Network.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. Yes, you see,
right.
Mike's here to get eaten. He's our sacrificial lamb. Yes, that's who he is. He's the official sacrificial lamb. That's how
That's
it
not
works
Michael.
out.
That's Baylock.
You know what? I haven't seen that other than in here in a long time. It's weird because you used to see it on see
Star Trek.
more Star Trek than you do now.
You would see that man that puppet's face at the end of every Star Trek episode from season 1 and 2 in the end credits.
Yes, and the guy was like what, a foot tall? No, about 2 foot tall.
He was Clint Howard.
Looked like a little baby or something.
Yeah, it was Clint Howard. He was like 5 or 6. He was my age or so, I think, when that show came out. What's his name? Ron Howard's little brother, Clint.
Yeah. Jimmy Reed, where are you at, Jimmy Reed? Whose brother are you? Cousin are you? Oh, no, I know who. Yeah. You sure? I know Thomas. I didn't know he had any brothers. I'll have to ask him next time I see him. Him and I used to get to talk a lot. Well, a lot of the old ufologists I don't talk to as much anymore. Well, they're kind of stuck. They're kind of stuck in a rut. I just feel like, so when ICAR came along, we changed a lot of stuff in the field. God knows we'll never get much credit for it, but we changed a lot of sayings, a lot of things. Nobody even knew what a freaking download was until we came along. And there was just so many things we added to it, so many things, because we made abduction popular. So when I was at MUFON, abduction wasn't popular. It was no, don't research that. And Walt Anders gave me permission to do a case study. We found 5,000 cases of abductions worldwide, actually. And we made our first abduction criteria list. MUFON itself would not allow it in the organization. Even though Walt Anders at the time was the ruler, he was the guy in charge, they didn't care. He was old. They said he didn't know what he talked about.
Department on this for how many years?
I remember Peola Harris was nasty about it. She didn't want to talk to her. Richard Dolan didn't want to. Everybody you see talking abductions today didn't talk them. Now, when they came on Wake Up USA, matter of fact, if you go back and listen to Wake Up USA, and you come back and listen to new ufologists today, they're actually quoting me word for word. It's kind of sad, actually. It's kind of nice and kind of says at least what we wanted out there is out there. It has changed. Abduction research has changed. It's not as, the stigma is not as bad as it used to be, but I mean, it's still there, but it's not near as bad as it used to be. No worse than UFO research.
Well, I mean, stealing intellectual property is the same as plagiarism. I mean, it's wrong in any.
It is.
Here, so, I mean, I know you hear me bitching about it with Ancient Aliens. They have the new slogan at the end of their opening credits where they say, "We're not alone. We have never been alone." That's me. I've been saying that on this network for 10 years. And before that, even, I haven't got on the network. So,
like paranormal anything, you've got serious investigators who actually collect evidence and are very hardcore about it. Then you get the freaks who aren't, and then it just takes away. Or you get the glory hounds on TV.
The showboats,
like that guy Zach on the Ghost Hunters. Last time I saw him was years ago. He was draped over a coffin saying some ghost touched his ass. I mean, like that, but that's what that is, and people watch it. But is it real? Is it legitimate? I mean, what do you guys think?
You know, it's a mess, is what it is. I notice a lot of it has been pulled down. A lot of people don't talk about a lot of things anymore. Even you know, what's the boys that he bought the hotel and all. You know, the guys who the flashlight rolled across the floor. Y'all know who I'm talking about. They made paranormal research popular. TAPS, that's who it is.
Yeah, the guys.
You don't even hear about them anymore. I mean, they kind of went the way. You know, they kind of went the way of the dodo bird.
Well, I mean, their show was good. I watched it. I don't anymore, but I used to.
Oh, it used to be good. I'm not hating this.
I mean,
Jason and was it Jason and Grant? I've interviewed both of them a couple of times. I actually, a good friend of mine, Tuesday Miles, was friends with them, and she used to do the investigations on the Queen Mary, or the Queen Anne, whichever the hell it was. And it's interesting to me.
And Queen Mary sank in.
Oh, speaking of that, before we move on, there's this is the last of the Queen Mary type ships. It's parked in Mobile, Alabama, right now. They're getting ready to go sink it out in the Gulf as a reef. If anybody wants to take a look at it before it goes down.
Oh, just real briefly, then that just this off subject, but it seems that the giant plastic bubble of trash that's circulating in the Pacific Ocean out there somewhere, that's making this, it's an island-sized piece of trash of just plastic. It seems to be turning itself into a natural floating reef.
Yeah, they had some kind of new. Yeah, they had some kind of new microbe that's been transforming it. But you know what? The guy's been out there
Well,
with
not only
that
there's
trash
creatures
raft.
living in the plastic bottles and making the plastic as like to place to harbor
But
themselves.
it's getting cleaned up. They got the guy out there with I call it the trash raft. He's out there. He's been
One
sucking
guy.
it up. No,
Come
he's
on,
got a
Joe.
big
One
ship, dude.
guy.
No. He's got a big ship, dude. He's not playtime. He's making money off of this.
I know.
Have
I
you,
think
you've never?
exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah. They said he'll have
One
it cleaned
guy
in 3
versus
years.
6 billion. I don't think so.
No, he said they said that section will be cleaned up in 3 years because they know what causes it now. They know that the zone it stops. The water coming off the European side versus American side, it stops. It's just a dead
We
spot.
can't curse on this show, Joe. I'm just going to say bull honkery to that.
Hey,
No
I'm
way.
not the one to say this. This guy's been out there doing it for a
way.
decade now, man. He
There's
said
no way.
another
I'm
3
sorry.
years.
One dude. I don't care how big your boat is. I don't care how often you
Not
go out
one
there.
dude. It's a whole bunch of people, but it's just there. He's the guy in charge of it all.
No,
And
I
they're
see.
doing. I've been watching them. They've been doing it. They're
If
toting
it
in
was
a
just
lot
one
of
dude with one
stuff.
boat, there's no way. But I still don't think they can do it. There's 6 billion people throwing trash into the ocean every day.
It's no, they're not anymore. So in the United States, you get caught throwing plastic in the ocean, you're looking at a $500 fine. So you're not going to see many people here. Europe's the same way. You might see it in Russia, but that's not coming down here. They've already said that the amount of trash going in the ocean is shrinking considerably, and they're sucking it out. They're being paid good money to suck it out too. Don't
That's
ask
true,
me.
but they may not want to be able. They may not want to start destroying that plastic bubble of island out there.
Well, they actually have 3. I forgot what you call them. They're actually on the boat with them, and they've been checking out. So this is what they do. They have a bunch of barges out there and a bunch of tankers, clear tankers, and they just suck it in and they fill up 5 or 6 of them a day, and off it goes. But they also said anything. I forgot the guy's name now, but anything that because there's these new things that are eating plastic.
Yeah,
it's converting to plastic, and actually it said it's converting to plastic into something that may be usable to us. But anyway, so anything like that.
Right. I don't know why no one ever believes the man. Yeah, he was a comedian, but he was a brilliant dude. He said the planet needed plastic, so it invented us, and when it gets enough plastic, it'll kick us off its back like a dog kicks fleas off of it, and we'll be dead.
Man. Well, that's why Elon wants to go to Mars.
Mother Nature, right there, man. Thank you. That was very well timed. I had planned that 6 months ago.
That's why we're going to Mars.
There's no lightning on Mars. Did you know that?
Well, not now, but give us some time.
You know why?
Give us
Because
some time.
lightning bolt hit it. Have you seen the lightning strike on it? There's a big strike of lightning electricity right across the front of its face. Bam.
Yeah, there's a big argument what caused that, man. I'd like to see it.
I agree with, and that's Velikovsky, and he says something came close and a static discharge erupted between the 2 spatial bodies, and essentially an electric charge arced between the 2 bodies and made that gouge on Mars.
Well, you never know. You never know. Some people think it was just a mountain range when the other planet passed it gouged it out.
It is a chasm.
Some people, no. They said a mountain range is what pulled it out. Some people say it was an asteroid that had a bunch of mountainous terrain on it. I don't know. I don't even pretend to know. I find it interesting. I mean, our canyon was made by water, so it's a possibility. Mars did have water on it at one time.
It looks like either a lightning strike or a lightning bolt caught on film and like frozen in time, or it could be the beginnings of ice patterns growing. Both have been speculated about this hole in the ground on Mars. This hole in the ground, by the way, I think will host 65 full-length Grand Canyons end to end.
Yeah, I know it's huge. I know it's huge.
Something like that, or something, or maybe even bigger. Yeah.
Yes, dude. I already know there's a ton of small. This guy was trying to debunk RH negative, and then he had to admit there's just a very small amount on the planet that's changing the world.
Yeah. Like what? 10% now? 15%? Somewhere in that range.
Yeah, well, it was. It's been 15% for a little while. A gateway to alien theories. Well, I'm sure it is a gateway to alien theories.
What gateway is that?
Well, they're saying RH negative is a gateway to. He's saying it is. He's being sarcastic though.
I would say no. A gateway to UFO research would be something like the 1947 Roswell incident.
No, he's saying a gateway to alien theories, meaning how we got here. Roswell's not going to put you on how we got here. Roswell's just a crash. He's talking about how we actually became as a species, is what he's talking about.
Nobody knows because there's a 1,000,000-year gap between our closest cousin, Homo erectus, and Homo habilis. It's a 1,000,000-year gap between those two species. We don't know what happened between that. We have no gradual improvements or mutations of either species between Homo habilis and Homo erectus. Yet both lived almost concurrently, and there's no transitional species between. That's impossible.
Well, we don't. That's the thing. We don't know. We don't.
We have a progressional evolutionary skeletons of almost every species on this planet. We've got the ones that were land creatures that turned into sharks.
No,
we don't have that for us. It's missing. That's why it's called the missing link.
Thank you, Jack. I'll read all this, but I already know what it says just from glancing over it. Yes. Well, we know what RH negative is. This guy who's writing this is saying, "Oh, it comes from the Rhesus monkey," but then I had to. He had to correct himself. It doesn't. It doesn't share the Rhesus monkey. Just RH comes from the Rhesus monkey. That's the name where it came from.
Well, it's a gene. Yeah, it's not. It doesn't make us monkeys. We're actually apes.
Yeah,
we're great apes, not monkeys.
We share 2.2% of the RH. Well, we don't. If you're O positive, you share 2% of your genes are RH from a Rhesus monkey. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not the guy who put the Rhesus monkey gene in you. You better go talk to God about that. I had no control over that. God said, "Haha, watch this."
God of Rhesus monkeys has your answer for you.
He's and then they're talking about how rare RH negative is in general, but how it seems to be growing. I've been saying that for years. The role of that's all great. I'm glad about all of that. Yeah, the future of RH negative blood research. Yes. Yeah, no, Gene, we'll do a show on this in the future. No, it's not for tonight's show, but thanks for sending it. It's just, well, there's a lot of stuff out there. When you type in, so 20 years ago, if you'd have typed this in, or even 25 years ago, if you'd have typed in RH negative and aliens, you'd have came up with Jack. Now it's all over the place.
That would be dogs.
They try to put it all under all kind of studies. Don't ask me. We started the study 30 years ago, but like I said, we don't get any credit for it.
Because there's a massive disinformation campaign that's ongoing. You know that where they muddy the water and make people not believe stuff, and then that's what's out there. The search
disinformation campaigns.
Oh, these rookies.
Well, Mish has a good question. Does RH negative have the word of God in the DNA?
How would I know?
Yeah, I don't know.
All I know is if you own a dog, you're probably going to heaven. If you don't, you're probably going to hell. People, that's what I'm saying. Dog spelled backwards is God.
Well, the old joke also is.
I don't think that was no accident.
What do people who can't sleep? What do you call those?
Insomniacs?
Yeah. What does an insomniac dyslexic do? He stays awake at night contemplating dog.
I know. Well, Jack, I'm not the. No, I mean, I'm not the one who invented it. I mean, somebody named it a dog, and dog backwards is God. I didn't create it.
The word dog itself doesn't have any origin in any of the root languages for English. It includes Latin, because dog in Latin is canis or cana.
Let's see. Who is this? Dr. Carl. Yeah, why do y'all keep sending me this? Nobel winner discovered the human blood type in 1930s. Yes, that was Carl Lancester, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Oh, Mark, look, they can do whatever they want, but it's nowadays it's tied into a lot of other things, especially type O. Yeah. A lot of people think the O is the extraterrestrial, it's actual the gray. They think the other two bloods are from human ancestry and the O is from the grays. Now, matter of fact, they think O itself, O negative, is from the grays.
Well, the weird thing is, and we've talked about this, this has to be true for what's in our blood, because we have the proof. You can go to any hematologist and they can tell you all about your own blood. 3 of those species that say they're humanoids had to have had almost identical parallel evolutions as we had on this planet, minus the intervention of a million years that we've missing, in order for their blood and all that to be so compatible with ours. There's 3 types of human bloods in us. I think that's fascinating, and they're not from this planet.
Something's just weird. What's that, Jimmy? You mean the Anunnaki? I've read that before. Yeah, written 15 years after we did it.
Baba Vanya, 2025. Alien encounter, and she actually said it could cause an apocalypse or some kind of like terrible event. And this woman was known for being 85% right. I mean, alien contact. Humanity will make contact with extraterrestrial life, possibly leading to a global crisis or apocalypse.
Yeah, they're saying the Anunnaki blood is the alien blood, the O blood.
That's one of them.
There's been a lot of people who have made some pretty good predictions. The guy who wrote the book, The Late Great Planet Earth. I mean, there's some serious predictions in there.
You also know, you played it at the beginning of the show. The recording of you talking about it's a brief explanation of the Anunnaki, but they have 6 fingers and 6 toes. There is a tribe, I believe, in South America, Peru area, that have the whole tribe, every person being in the tribe has 6 working fingers and toes.
That'd be cool.
Technically speaking, if we're putting out the torch at night and space is saying, here we are, we're humans, come on. I mean, any species anywhere can come here and be like, okay, but they're not all holier than thou. I'm sure that some of them are bloodthirsty or just don't care, or they want the resources or something. You know what I mean? But
the thing is our location though. We're stuck. These are 2 spiral arms. We're right here, in the middle of 2 spiral arms, somewhere in this vicinity between these 2 galactic arms. One's Orion and one's Sagittarian. Sagittarian arm is probably the one we came from originally, but we got knocked out of the galaxy, whichever galaxy we were part of, if ever we were one. We're in the middle of nowhere. So if someone were to be looking for life in this galaxy, they would not be looking where our star is.
Yeah, but we're the ones sending out radio signals and all this.
Doesn't matter. No one would focus on this area because the bulk of the stars are in the 2 arms that are surrounding us, and there are a lot more.
I don't know, man. I don't
trillions more stars surrounding us.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
What are y'all 2 knowing about? What the is going on here? I'm not paying attention.
I'm just saying we could be, if we weren't sending out radio signals and making trips into space, this planet would go unnoticed because the bulk of life galaxy is going to be in those two galactic arms.
I have to agree. I have to agree with Jay on that. We're pulling attention to us. We're unseen part of the galaxy until we start talking.
Exactly
I mean,
right.
we're so far off. The bottom one, we're, Jesus, 50, 60,000 light years from. The top one, we're probably maybe 10 or 20,000 light years. But still, it's not no cakewalk to either one of the arms.
But if there's alien species here anyway, don't you think that could attract it too? I mean, I could
Well,
have
if okay, we've
battle.
talked about this before. What happens if these alien species we're talking about came with this solar system when it entered this galaxy from the Sagittarius galaxy? Because it's a good chance that Earth didn't come from the Milky Way; it came from Sagittarius. So if that's true, these other races might have been here with us. They might be stuck. They might not be able to fly out that far. Their technology may allow them to go all over, but maybe not quite that
Yeah,
far.
as I said, if they're about
Up, Heidi?
400 years advance of us, and on the order of Star Trek level of technology, that's not that far. We're not that far off from that as we are on the path.
Darth Vader, dude, Death Star is coming, man.
Yeah,
Coming.
we had the Death Star. That's the moon. We already talked about that. You missed that part. It was early in the show. We talked about the Death Star being the moon.
Yeah,
So
one day
something destroyed the
gonna
galaxy,
pop
this
out.
universe.
You know what? It's going to be the Death Star. Things are going to pop out, and it's going to have German Nazi SWAT stickers on it.
I would not be surprised.
They're going to be, and then the one in Antarctica is going to do the same thing. The wall is going to come down. There's going to be German SWAT stickers all over.
Well, that's
What
where
else?
Hitler supposedly got that from. Was the master who was inside the Aryans inside the Earth? Supposedly,
This is a good one. Mish says we are cells inside a bigger critter. That's probably another cell inside of something even bigger.
Well, there's a thing, Mish, that the universe grew so fast that it outgrew itself because it's sentient. So what it did is all sentient life, it's itself broke off into little pieces so it can try to figure itself out because it's gotten so massive it doesn't know what it is anymore. Yes, it's actually a true saying. It's been around for probably, God, it probably came back from the Buddha. It's been around at least 2,000-3,000 years. But it's strange.
The universe itself is at least 14 billion years old, so that's how old.
And since we all know we're star stuff, it's not a far cry from being the truth.
We're part of it.
Yeah, so we're naturally part of it. I mean, that's the thing humans have to learn, that we're connected to everything. Everything came in this solar system. Everything came from the yellow sun, and the yellow sun came from the galaxy itself.
It's real.
And so we're part of all of that. That's who and what we are.
Yeah.
Jack, I can't look. I'm not the guy back there lighting off the Big Bang. Of course, it might have been Mike. Mike might say, "What's this cord for, man? Let's see, boom!" And here's for the Big Bang. I'm blaming it on Mike.
I'm
man.
gonna be I'm gonna spark this, man. Hold on.
He started it. I'm blaming it on Mike.
Let me spark this right here. Boom!
We'd all be angelic creatures living, floating around, and yes, we'd all be angelic creatures now living in what they call heaven. But no, Mike had to go blow up the place, and now we're stuck.
No, and then maybe you won't blow up the place. At worst, you might lose a finger or two.
No, I mean when the universe was just a little ball like this, it was just a little ball like this. He lit it on fire.
By hand.
And then now we're whatever we are now.
He's a lefty.
Christopher, what? No, we're really star stuff, dude. What do you mean? No, we all come from the stars. We all come from everything that's inside this solar system has the yellow star in it. Yes, everything. That's just the way the universe works, and then that star is part of this galaxy or some galaxy. Yeah, so it's becoming that as well. Well, we're star stuff, and that's why I said we're just pieces of the main universe broke off so to figure itself out.
And in a few billion years, this star will supernova and turn into another kind of star along the main sequence until it turns into eventually a brown dwarf and dies. In each iteration, it'll create and destroy all of its planets. Every time. It's cyclical. Yeah, absolutely, Heidi. 100%. Everything in this solar system, the material for it, including our bodies and well, I can't say sentience, but at least everything that creates our bodies is a result of the sun becoming yellow, going supernova and turning into a yellow star.
The sun. Ah, Joe changed his appearance. Something going
Yeah,
on.
he sure did.
Got the tranny thing happening, man. To each his own. We tolerate everybody here. Notice I said tolerate.
Yeah. But I had an argument with some friends of mine from high school that I play games with every Sunday. They think the distances in space are too great for the aliens to get here, and I was like, "You guys are idiots! I can't believe you believe that."
They got to wormhole that thing, man. But boom, then you're right there. They're already, you know what? We're already starting to do it in science. They're moving light, they're bending light, they're saving light, they're creating light from nothing. It's only a matter of time. I mean, we probably won't see it in our lifetimes, but only a matter of time before they come upon that type of way to travel, plan those 5 points of space. And I'm going to go there. You got your research vessel. You zip out there. You plant your flag. You zip back. I mean, it'll be, you know what, man? It'll be mining companies. They're the ones who are going to.
Well, I
go
think
out
that
there.
they're going to be the pioneers. That's going to be that'll help the mining companies going out and mining some of the asteroids. But I fully think that we're at a point right now with our technology that we're probably, at least I'd say, lower, first season Star Trek technologically capable. Uh, and I have a feeling that they're good. That eventually, within my lifetime and your lifetime, we're going to see medical pioneer, new technology that extends our lives, and we'll probably get to venture out into space. Maybe not all the way out of our solar system, but at least a decent tour of the planets, if you will. I really feel that that's coming soon, but I think before that happens, there's going to be a bleep ton of just hardship before that. But I hope that doesn't happen.
There's a woodchuck outside my door eating, staring at me.
Oh, really?
This is Wild Kingdom here, man.
Sonny checking it out.
Nah, he's fast asleep.
There's a woodchuck, some woodchuck chucking.
I see you, woodchuck.
Christopher, you mean? Oh, you're talking about the scroll. Do I really think we're food? Well, if we are 8 billion of us, I mean, Jesus, we could feed a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of aliens, man. Look at the woodchuck out there. Yeah.
Chuck.
Yes, Mike lives in the forest. What can we tell you? Bears, raccoons, you name it. It's coming by his house.
Oh yeah, been hot here, man. I took a Ziploc bag, filled it full of water, froze it, threw it out there in the bird bath, or whatever they drink from it. It's been hot. It's been on 105 day before
Yes,
yesterday.
it's gonna be hot up there, Yankee Land, man.
I'm in the woods, so it's a good 12 degrees cooler if you're in the woods, man. But outside my door, it was 90, 96, 97. I mean, that's still hot,
Yeah, we were 98 yesterday and about 90, I think 92.3 at the hottest today.
Yeah. That must suck working, man, on that forklift boogieing around.
We're in a warehouse, and it's amazing how a stone, concrete wall and metal ceilinged, metal roofed building with no insulation whatsoever can hold so much heat. It's really astounding.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember, man, going to Home Depot.
Either then, so
Home Depot and Lowe's in the garden center when I'm looking for stuff. My God, it's too hot. If it's 100 out, you don't want to be out there. I don't know how people stand it.
My first 3 years at the Home Depot was in that same situation. I worked in the garden center.
I would work in the air conditioning section.
Well, I graduated to that at one point, my last year in garden, because I became the gas tool. I forget the exact title was, but the gas powered garden tool associate. So I had to stay inside most of the time to answer questions about lawnmowers and weed whackers and stuff like that. But yeah, the first year there was so hot. I think I lost 20 pounds in like a month just outside sweating.
You know what? Like a couple post workers died just this last couple days ago. Well, they're last 2 days, and then there's an outcry, and then about like they should have at least air conditioning in their trucks. U.S. Postal Department, and also Amazon and UPS. Most of them don't. They don't have anything. I mean, so I don't know. I mean, look at the way companies treat their workers. Nothing has really changed because people still get abused. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they did change. The postal service did change their trucks. They do have they have radio, GPS. Okay, great. That's good. Okay, so they should already know. I mean, if they're experienced, they already know their route. But I guess a newcomer.
I was always in a comfortable business, like didn't matter. Music business, you're in a club, it's gonna be air conditioned, it's gonna be heated. You don't have too much bull crap. My limousine business.
People will bring you things. You tell them what you want, and they'll bring them to you. Bring me a gin and tonic.
My limousine business, same. I mean, limousine, of course, is air conditioned.
People call you, and you bring them to places. Yeah, the same idea.
And you don't have to speed around, make an unbelievable amount of money. I mean, people don't really understand the money. and if you own a limo, because I'm actually looking to get back into it now, and I'm looking to buy one. If you own a limo, you can trade with services. If you know a dentist, anybody that charges out of the pocket, you can say, okay, I'll give you 12 hours in the limo. You know what I mean? So it's less money out of your pocket, but yet you're trading the service. So yeah, there's a lot of leeway there. But it's a fun business. For the most part, people get into a limousine, they want to have a great time, and they're not looking to have a bad time. You just let them know. You break it, you buy it. You know what I mean? Like, I've got your credit card. Go ahead and make a mess. My detailer is going to love you. You know what I mean? so people do stuff.
Yeah. I worked in the service industry throughout college, so yeah, I know you can.
I had a bachelor party one time, man. Oh my God, seven drunken ladies, man. It was funny, and they didn't know I was the owner of the company because I never tell anybody because I want to get a nice tip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you tell them you own the company, they don't tip you, dude. I mean, zero. They're like, F you, you're the owner. I'm not tipping you. So you gotta be like, it's my kid's first birthday, and I couldn't be with them tonight.
Yeah.
I had to be here.
My boss is really cool, but he's going to pay me a lot. Bigger tip.
They'd be like, you poor man. You work for a monster. Yeah, he's a beast.
Yes. He's a horrible man.
He's a beast with horns.
That's
yeah,
funny.
Man. The good old days. You know what? It was cool, though. Like, sometimes I'd run people, like, down to the city. Or like just a one way. I didn't do airport service really, but I did and I didn't. If the money was there, obviously you do it. You know what I mean? But it's kind of funny because there's a lot of downtime and then you're just chilling. I like to drive, so like with me, but you need someone who likes to drive. But I found a '46 Cadillac limousine, beautiful, goddamn beautiful vehicle. I put a bid on it, man. And like what? It's good for wine tours. It's good for the smaller stuff. It's good for photographic type of thing. Like photographers love it. Photo opportunity. People get married. They want to be like posed next to something like that. And the price is right, man. But
yeah,
I don't know. I missed the business. That's why I'm looking to get back into it.
Sorry about that, guys. Had a little mini emergency I had to go take care of.
Yeah. No worries. We were talking about old school jobs we used to have.
Somebody be losing their.
Well, Joe, you're a contractor. You trade services for stuff. I mean, you can like do really well with people because then you have to pay out of the pocket. Like if you have another business that you want to trade some services with, to you it's labor.
We do that all the time. We it's funny. Before I retired, I should have brought my guys and let them finish remodeling my house, but. It's by the way, ladies and gentlemen, contractor's house. You never judge a contractor by his house.
It's always never finished.
Never judge a mechanic by his car.
No, because
No, you never seem to have time to work on it yourself. It just
I've known enough contractors in my career. They tell you the same
it's
thing. Their house is always never finished.
it's one of them things that happens. But yeah, I mean, somebody asked me one time. I said, "Man, I hate working on my own house. I have to because I got to fix my dock on my boat dock and all. But and I put new floors in last year, but the house moves,
Yeah.
and it does this now. Before anybody asks me, no, my house really moves. It's on stilts.
It's Baba Yaga's dancing hut.
Actually moves.
You're living in Baba Yaga's dancing hut.
And it's just the way it goes. It's if it didn't move, it would break. Yeah, so just now. It's, what the scary part is when the dryer's on, it does this now. The whole house.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know where the money is now in construction is construction estimators, people who go in and tell someone what the cost of something is going to be. Yeah, you have nothing to do with the company they're going to hire or whatever, but you go time, materials, and things like that. Because a lot of people have no clue, and they want a contractor to tell them. The contractor may not be honest with them, man. I mean, we know most of them aren't.
Yeah. Well, I always tell everybody to get 3 bids, and I do. People call me all the time to do. I don't do them as much as I used to, but I could. I'm just kind of lazy.
I learned a lot, dude, from the contractors coming. I knew it had to be done. I just wanted the laborers. I started collecting all the names and numbers of the laborers that came to the house, so I could just call them and have them come do the labor. Because
so if you own the house, you're allowed to be the contractor. So
yeah, definitely.
You can actually be the contractor, but you better know your shit because it's easy to get messed around. But ET loves to be contracting on your butt. Yes, it does, man. It's, I was thinking when Mike said about the contracting thing, I was thinking just recently, a guy, ET seems to like contractors. I got to thinking about this the other day. How many people or contractors that we know that have been taken? And when Mike said it, it kind of triggered it in my head because, the first time I ever realized that was with your boy down in Florida. It's what the hell is his name? Oh man, my brain is fried. But no, he was the guy who got taken down to Florida. It was the Gulf Breeze.
Oh, Ed Walters.
Yeah, and so he was a contractor by trade, damn good contractor too.
If you find most of the really famous cases, the people abducted they're Joe Schlubs. They're nobodies. I mean, you got Betty and Barney Hill. I mean, a math teacher, and I don't remember what Barney did, but he worked in an office. He was.
But do you believe in them? That's that interracial couple from back in the day, right?
I believe his story. Yeah, I believe 100%. He was abducted. I don't believe she was.
He was a postman that he was a postman in an interracial marriage that got invited to the White House.
Yeah, and I think this the way I've always thought about it is I guarantee he was the object of interest in the whole thing. If she was abducted by the aliens, she was abducted only as secondary, just for the fact that she was in the car with him and probably was only there unconscious and not really even experimented on. But him, I think absolutely he was. He is genuinely scared when he describes any of those events.
I vaguely know the story, but it's old, way back, right? I mean, what was it?
1961.
Yeah. So that's the one I'm talking about. Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I never really looked into it aside from just being one passing story,
No, there was an interesting case. It's just she just jumped on it. She wanted to be the famous one. Barney, in this side, you could tell what was going on.
Is he still alive?
No, he
died pretty young.
Is she still alive?
She died
in the 80s.
Did they have kids at all?
I think it was a little later. It might have been the 90s.
No, they had no children.
It's
They had a niece who was well read.
Kathleen Maldron.
Yeah, she was well read in on the.
I'm just curious if they had any blood relative from them.
Niece, I don't think so. No,
his children.
Mm-mm.
Well, I think Kathleen says she's a takey too, but in his case, look, you could honestly tell the difference. She was all gung ho, and he was like, "Leave me alone."
Yeah.
He did not think about it. He didn't want to be around it. No one could understand how he got invited to meet the president. He was in Russia. I mean, he was a postman working in interracial marriage. He had a colonel living with him, and he was friends with 2 other colonels. I don't even know how you get to know those kind of people unless he wasn't in the military. Figure that one out.
He may have had a sensitive desk job, which required,
He was a post office man. He was a postman.
Yeah.
Keep in mind the racial climate of the country at that time.
The
people
postman
were
did all
not
kinds of things for the government. It's a government agency, actually. The
people
post
didn't
office
like interracial couples back in the day, so that could have been part of what they were doing. I don't know, man. See, the whole thing seems
though the U.S. Post Office is an actual government, department, whereas the IRS is not. So
he got invited to the White House because he had been taken. They knew he had been taken. This was after the whatchamacallit. They've been watching him his whole life. Somebody, when he was real young, sent him to see a shrink, and that shrink tipped off the government, and ever since that they were following. Because he'll tell you himself, he had lots of military friends that he don't know where they came from. And colonels just don't make friends with anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, they're way the hell up there in rank. They're not like some little lonely lieutenant or something. These guys, he's a full-blown colonel. That's one step from being a general.
1 or 2. If you're a lieutenant colonel, that's 2 steps. If you're a colonel, it's 1.
Yeah, but these were full bird colonels. I mean, one was living in his house with him. What the hell? Why would a full bird colonel be living in your house? Do you know how much money they make?
We got one coming on with us
90 grand a year.
We got one coming on with us on Friday. I kind of invited everybody. so because I figured I invite people, and then sometimes they don't show up. I may as well invite everybody. I got another really good friend who is a DC police officer, and he was there January 6th. He's got some very interesting things to say. I don't know how far he can really go and talk, but I said, but he's very political, so I said, come on.
Yeah, I've tried to get a couple of my friends to come on. They don't want to. They just.
Sheriff, he can get to talk to you all day long.
He said he said it wasn't that something really weird happened. It's just he don't like to talk about. He said all the dead bodies, all the pieces of bodies. He worked the crash in DC. He said there's pieces of bodies everywhere. He said it's just fucking disgusting.
Yeah, man. But we'll see who comes on. Also, my friend Tom, who is NYPD.
Oh, Giovanni's going to join us on Saturday.
You see that Cuomo had to duck it out. So New York City's on the way to the biggest, most leftist, Jew-hating liberal that anyone can ever even imagine is going to be in the role if he wins mayor. I mean, but he won the primary. So, now everybody else has to run as whatever. But I mean, this guy...
A guy who promotes Jews is going to win the.
He was just saying good things about the October 7th.
The problem for Cuomo was he didn't have the money to get out there.
No, he comes from a wealthy background.
But he didn't have that kind of money. This guy was getting money from everywhere.
We'll see what happens, man.
But everybody keeps counting out my boy. Eric Adams is still running. He's the incumbent.
Who?
Eric Adams is the incumbent. They like him.
I mean, you know what? It's usually hard to unseat someone unless you really.
He's still pulling hard in both the other two, so we'll have to wait and see what happens.
People may want to stick with Adams.
And wait, I seen some interesting pictures of this guy. So what the fuck is this? Beep. Sorry, people. We're going to talk about this on Friday night for sure. So what is it that you get weird, you get funky, you go dressing, you screaming? So they were showing this guy. He looked just like Lazinski. That video we played of Lazinski looked just like him. They got him in riots, screaming and pushing on cops. So, and you can bet Eric's going to be playing these. You can take that to the bank. But what is it now? So that's what's required to be a politician in the United States. Ladies, I'm sorry, we're not going to talk about this because it's UFO Undercover, but we will be talking about this on Friday.
They take all kinds into those offices.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And I've already heard a lot of businesses talking about
where
it.
else on the planet can you get a job writing a check to a man who's 605 years old?
I know. Yeah, I'm 605. Give me my check. Look, I'm an alien. I want my check, man. Damn it, I want my damn check. What's that, Christopher? I don't really think the aliens eat us. I think we're too high in cholesterol for that. Yes, they're probably like, ooh, we don't want humans stink. They smell
that may also be a subconscious self-defense. We may be eating ourselves fatter because they like us lean and meaty instead of fat and gristly.
What do you mean? How many of us are going to Mars? So if Elon gets his way, within 10 years there'll be 2 to 3 million people living on
Oh
Mars,
wow!
and coming and going back and forth. That's what he wants.
How's he going to get the atmosphere going?
You don't need an atmosphere for 10 million people to live there. Actually, they're going to do what I've been saying that everybody should have done for 2 decades.
Because if not, they're going to.
So I've been saying this for almost 3 decades. Olympus Mons has a huge empty core in the center. So you can close off the ends, fill it full of oxygen. It'll protect you from radiation. It'll protect you from meteorites. You don't even have to build a damn shield around it. And you're already on your way to a huge colony. They said they could fit 2 to 8 million people in there and just expand out from there. And that's the way they should do it. And there's other places, a lot of underground places.
Well, there seems to be a three-year scientific plan, which seems rapid, but a 3-year plan nevertheless to put an atmosphere on Mars.
Well, if they can do it, go for it. I mean, they're not going to put a breathable atmosphere in 3 years.
Yes, breathable. The article said, even the first 5 or 6 sentences, it said something worse to the effect that a breathable atmosphere, protected from radiation, and you would not need a spacesuit. Specifically mentioned you would not need a spacesuit. So
I know there's 5 or 6 plans in effect to create an atmosphere on Mars where you don't need a spacesuit, but you still need a regulator to breathe. I've heard about a bunch of those, but
oxygen, you don't need a spacesuit or anything of that nature.
Because we don't have anything right now that can no rapid plant life that can really get over there and make the planet terraform that fast.
Well, I think we
don't even have the water that we don't even know what kind of water's there yet. So we got to find out about all that now. Maybe if they can find a machine that can convert whatever's there into oxygen, but I don't know. Their atmosphere sounds skinky.
The mana machine, the chlorella machine, it's an algae that not only can you eat, as in sea planktons and other kinds of not sea plankton, sea kelps that you mostly see with Japanese sushi. Chlorella algae is edible, and it also creates oxygen.
Yes, but you got to have water.
Yes.
So we don't know. That's what I'm saying. We don't know. We do know there's 2 ice caps there, and we do know they melt and grow back. So we know that. We know it actually rains on Mars. So we know there's got to be liquid water somewhere underground. And that's the thing. That's what I was saying. Going underground is probably the way to go. You'll probably find running rivers underground, or at least ozone wells and stuff like that, but not above the ground. Above the ground's atmosphere is just too thin. It'll just float off.
I'll bet you if they took an array of parabolic mics, that's a microphone with a parabolic skin around it, or like a satellite dish around it, point 3 or 4 of those in a triangular space so you can triangulate. I'll bet you if you put several microphones to the Earth or to the Mars, I'll bet you'll hear underground water. I'll bet you'll hear an underground river. I'll bet you there's lots of them.
No, they definitely think there's some now. So the other day, NASA admitted that there's no doubt liquid water on Mars. So they actually came out and said it. So that's a plus. But what does it mean for us? What does it mean for Elon? Where is he going to go with everything?
Means there may have been life on Mars.
Probably still is life on Mars.
Probably still is. Well, maybe extinct, but maybe revivable.
Well, they're thinking because of the methane plumes that there's probably life on Mars.
Well, there's more than a methane plume. There are 2. I forget exactly which kind of radiation, but there are 2 massive spikes in radiation. One over Cydonia, where the face on Mars is, and one, not far from there, both in the northern hemisphere of the planet. Types of radiation that can only be made by a non-natural bomb. And there's 2 huge spikes of that type of radiation in Mars's atmosphere. Ding, 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 ding. There's your evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened.
Maybe something. We're young. There may be something else that makes it. We know methane pretty much is only made by something dying, and but they still don't want to admit it.
Well, methane is also made by creatures that are living. Some creatures.
Yeah, we're living too. Yeah, we're living too. Well, Viking originally picked up oxygen plumes when they landed. So they said no, it must have been trapped inside the Viking lander. No, they said no, it wasn't. The other one found oxygen as well. So the rovers have found oxygen on 3 occasions. Oxygen is pretty much made by something that's alive. It can be made by a machine, but if you're on a planet where there's no machinery, then it's made by something alive. So is methane. So you have methane and oxygen. It's pretty much given, and you have seasons where it goes and comes, which suggests that's something alive. What
It's
it is
alive.
alive, I don't know. Maybe it's a nematode. I have no idea what it is alive. But it does
It's
suggest that there's something underneath there, alive, and it might just be plants. It might be water plants growing, living, dying, and growing on. But if there's water plants, you can pretty much bet there's going to be some other type of life.
It
Maybe
could
a
be
little
algae,
fish.
photosynthetic planktons. That we know some planktons, almost all
I wonder,
planktons.
I wonder if plants have a tendency to want to grow upward there.
Huh?
Plants, if they want to grow upward.
Not plants, plankton.
No, I'm just saying, plants that may be in the water there, I wonder if they want to grow up.
Oh, they want to
Because,
go towards the light. Yes, if they're using photosynthesis.
well, no, not towards the light, because there's lack of gravity. I mean, it's only 1/6. I mean, that's not really.
They're gonna go the fastest, naturalist way towards the source of their food, which should be the sun.
And these might be things that live without light, though.
Then they wouldn't go towards the sun. Why would they go up?
Because of the gravity. Because there's not that much gravity. It'd be easier to go up than down.
But if you're at
down, you'd be pushing through the water. Going up, you'd just be kind of growing up. They were talking about that on a science project just recently. That it would be much easier on Mars to string climbing plants that would grow up really quickly, especially if they were being sprayed with oxygen.
What is gravity? It's like 1/5 that of Earth on Mars. So
1/6, yeah. And what is the moon? The moon's even less than that.
Moon is 1/6. Mars is 1/5. I do believe.
There's not much in the way of gravity on either one of them. Actually, you can jump off the moon, Jimmy. Oh, yes, you can. We watched an astronaut almost throw himself off the moon, dumbass. He was throwing a case out, and when he did, he started going out, and the guy had to grab hold to him. Yeah, because he was going to go. Adios, amigos. That's one of the great things about launching ships off of Mars. There's not going to be much force to hold them down. They're going to be one pulse, and they'll be in space. It's leaving our planet's a problem. But once they get to Earth, they're not going to land anymore. They're going to go into orbit, and they're going to send missions up to the starships and refuel them and reload them and send them back. It'd be much cheaper to use them little Falcon 9 rockets to send stuff up there with cabins and then fill up the Why take a chance, landing every one of those big ships? Once you've got them in space, I mean, landing them on Mars is fine. Landing them on Earth is just, more of a problem. And remember, he's going to be building 50 or 60 a year. Look how fast he's building. He's already in Starship 12. He builds these things really quickly. Of course, the other one blew up the other day.
Starship Enterprise, though. I want one of those.
Give him time, man. Give him time. He's looking for a fuel source right now for that kind of stuff. We're building huge ships like the Starship Enterprise guys needs fuel. We can probably find the material, but the fuel is going to be an issue. But what's going to propel this thing? So they use antimatter on the Enterprise.
Yeah, antimatter on the Enterprise.
Which we can use antimatter. I think the longest we've ever kept is like 1.15 fifths or some shit. It was really weird.
It stayed alive.
You like blinking. It was faster than a blink of eye. Yeah. The guy said if you blinked your eye, you missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we can do it, but containment's an issue. So there's other things. There's dark matter. We can try that. We know there's helium-3 on the moon. I never understood that. We know there's an abundance of helium-3 on the moon, and we still don't go get it.
That's what Mars would look like if they terraform Mars. There you go.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, they just got to get a strong enough atmosphere that the water don't float away. Yes.
Well, it needs to have its inner core relit, so it will start producing a magnetosphere.
There might be other ways to do that through satellites, but
possibly
they were talking about you could put up these satellites. I forgot how you set them up, and it would create a magnetosphere that would protect the planet. So they're talking about it, but most people say getting an atmosphere where you can walk on the surface of Mars without equipment is 5 years, but life, oxygen, they say is at least 100.
The article I
But
was looking at said 3
could be
years.
longer, could be shorter. So I don't fight with that kind of stuff because I've learned how science is. It could be way longer, it could be way shorter. You just never know how that's
What
going
if
to
all
go.
it takes was a couple of neutron bombs, boom, and then 5 years, 10 years later?
Well, the problem is, see, we've talked about that, and they've talked about that, but there's one big problem. You don't want to contaminate the little bit of water you have on Mars.
Mm-hmm.
So they talked about superheating up both poles, which would really quickly, like you said, it would create an atmosphere in about 3 or 4 days. It would be like, what's that movie, Get Your Ass to Mars?
Yeah.
So it would be like that. It would instantly be, it would thicken up the atmosphere. But you'd still have to have those satellites out there to keep that atmosphere from floating away. But for a while, the atmosphere would be contaminated with radiation, and all the water would be. So it would take a couple of decades for that to fade out, unless we have a way to clean it up. So you can't rule that out either. Elon is a beast when it comes to inventing stuff. And he may invent something easily that can clean this mess up. Or he may already have it for that matter. I've been learning a lot about Eli. A lot of stuff he already has. It's like sitting in the wings, like how to control stuff without through thought. He's already got that equipment. You know how well that's going to come, how handy that's going to come in on Mars.
Not on Mars, but on how to get to Mars.
But I mean, when we get to Mars, it's going to be one of those things that's going to really come in handy. Really, I mean, it's going to come in handy. Oh, damn it. I took that one off when I need that. What a dummy. Let me go get it. What's that, Christopher? No, we actually got to go. We got like 4 minutes. Why? What's up? I don't know what you're talking about. Get Your Ass to Mars was, I forgot the damn.
Total Recall.
Yeah, Total Recall.
Total Recall.
The first one. Not
Get Your Ass to Mars, man. So I heard they tried all kind of shit to get Arnold Schwarzenegger to talk crap about Trump, and he just wouldn't do it. They were like, no, I'm not talking about Trump. Forget it. He said, I ain't going there. And a big surprise before we go, because we're going to leave. And this is a political note, people, so close your ears. So the head of the EU, that woman, came out and said Trump was a beast for doing this. He was the only one that could do this and get away with it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So, y'all just know what you said. I thought I'd tell y'all that. Even though AOC is going to impeach him, I'm sorry. AOC just have to
if they're nominating him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, Pakistan put him up for that. We're going to have to see where that goes. Now that he's got a ceasefire, he has a chance of getting it. He blew it, but now he took it back. So it's the thing about Trump. You never know which way life's going to go for him. On that note, guys and girls, we will be here Friday night talking about this. There's a lot to talk about. He pulled a Chinooga, so he did a pretty good job. There'll be things to talk about that. There's some new stuff going on in Ukraine. We'll be talking about that. We'll be, Mike says there's going to be somebody stopping by. We got some other things to talk about. Saturday, Giovanni's coming by. Excuse
and
me.
we're going to talk about if the strike was effective.
We'll talk about that. Giovanni will be coming by Saturday. We'll be talking about his new movie. As far as the effectiveness, I guess it's all about who you believe. Iran and Israel said it was perfect. Iran said it was perfect, which cracks me up. 2 security agents for the United States said it was garbage. So I don't know which 2. I haven't had a chance to sit down and research it, but you can bet you're behind by Friday night. Y'all will know. We will take this all the way wherever it needs to go. We love hunting things down, and we love tearing people up. So anyway, we got to go because Michelle DeRoche will be coming up in just a few minutes on the outer rim. Matter of fact, I bet you her music is playing right now.
Probably.
So, and again, any moans, groans, bitches, gripes, or complaints, please feel free to write to Michelle DeRoche, courtesy of Michael Engeli. And on that note, we will see you Friday. Stay out of trouble, everybody. Or, well, if you're like us, try to stay out of trouble, everybody.
Try, but don't try that.
That's the best I can tell you.